Welcome to the Getting Down with Digital Health podcast, sponsored by Mend. We hope to inform and inspire you on a wide variety of healthcare topics. We're grateful you're joining us today. And now, on with the show.
What up, everybody? My name is Brandon Worley. I am co-founder of Mend, and I am your host for Getting Down with Digital Health. Today, we are going to be talking to my friend, fellow co-founder, and CEO of Mend, Matt McBride. Matt, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing awesome, man. This is going to be fun. Excited to be here.
And today we are going to be covering lots of different topics. We're going to be talking about not only how do you set up a great and effective telehealth program, but we're also going to be discussing the new ebook and webinar that Mend is going to be putting out. And we also have an interesting contest that Matt has challenged me to that I'll have to undertake. So hopefully that goes smoothly. And then we're going to close it out. So without further ado, let's get into this. So, Matt, and speaking about setting up a productive telehealth program, who is appropriate for virtual care visits and when are they appropriate?
So I think the most important thing is you want telemedicine to be safe. And so what we've put up on the slide here are common reasons that we see customers use for their telehealth protocols. I think probably the easiest way to think about it is, do we have to physically lay hands on a patient, right? Is there something where we need them in person physically to be able to do something? That obviously wouldn't be a good use case for telemedicine yet. So I think what we tend to see is customers will look for visit types where maybe there's high no-show or cancel rates. Maybe there's certain types of visits or programs or therapies where they see compliance drop off instead of having folks reach a positive outcome at the end of therapy or treatment. Obviously, there's a pandemic going on, so infectious disease concerns, or, there may be patients or populations with, certain barriers to care that would be well served through a virtual visit. So I think those are some of the broader areas. And then what we see from customers in terms of the types of visits, medication management, follow-up, lab results, chronic care management, and the list kind of goes on. Excuse me. But you can kind of see they're all types of visits that may not require that patient to be physically present. But having that protocol, having something documented, and having something that's safe, that everybody agrees on, is definitely going to be important to running a successful telemedicine program.
Since COVID hit, the whole landscape for digital health has really exploded, and it's changing very dramatically in talking with our customers. And as soon as COVID hit, a lot of people just jumped to whatever they could stand up very quickly so that they could care for their patients. And so essentially, the majority of the virtual care solutions on the market today, they only allow for video connections, which leaves out many of the important tasks required in a traditional in-person visit, like getting forms filled out, collecting payments, and other types of workflows that are customary when a patient goes into the provider's office. So how does Mend solve these workflow issues for healthcare professionals today?
What we wanted to do here is expand everybody's mind as to what could a telemedicine program look like, right? It doesn't just have to be send a link to somebody right now and they connect and we do a video conference. If you want to mimic in-person flows in a virtual setting, you can do that with a robust telemedicine program. Now, we have all the other workflows that you might need. You don't have to pick just one. So if you do want to just send a link and start a visit with somebody right away, you can do that. But the majority of the time, especially if you have scheduled encounters, this is what it could potentially look like. So let's say that maybe staff could be scheduling. You might have some patient self-scheduling through Mend as well. We can have all of that integrated and flowing back and forth. We can send out the reminders and the links, handle the digital forms, payments, tech support, all the other needs that you might have for any other additional information that needs to be collected. Super easy, patented process to join a visit. Patient gets an email or text with a link. They put in their date of birth, they connect on any device, that's it. From there, you can really start to mimic in-office flows, right? If you wanted to have somebody from the front office connect with that person on video, maybe just get any other information, answer any questions, what have you, you could do that. You can then transfer it to a specific person or hand that visit off to a queue where maybe a nurse, MA, could pick up. From there, they've got everything, the charts all prepped, ready to go for the provider. Now they transfer it to the provider in our system. Once the provider is done, they could then set it to ready for checkout. And so you could really have any step you want, but you could run the patient through the same exact flow, a lot of the same exact processes that you have today. If you wanted to set up that type of workflow for your telemedicine program.
And talking with our customers, to get the best adoption is to try to give them workflows that they're already accustomed to, that whether it's the receptionist all the way back to the provider to the checkout person, a workflow that is familiar to them. And there's no doubt that it's been resonating with customers. So now we've been talking a little bit about the workflow once a patient is already in and engaging with the healthcare staff. But let's talk about one of the biggest bottlenecks of healthcare, which has always been scheduling and rescheduling appointments. The reason of this is most healthcare organizations, they still rely on a patient needing to make a phone call to the practice. And, oftentimes they have to leave a voicemail. They're waiting for somebody to call them back. So trying to sync up with somebody one-to-one during a busy workday can be challenging. And of course, you also have to do all of this within the normal business hours. So talk to me about what Mend is doing to help solve this issue of scheduling for patients.
So in our platform, we definitely have points before the visit where we set expectations around, tips for a successful connection. We've got different tips and what to expect in the appointment reminders that are going out. But if you're scheduling somebody over the phone, this is also an opportunity, I think, to make sure that you get that email and mobile number or phone number. The over 90% of phone numbers these days are going to be mobile numbers. So making sure that you have a good method to contact the person so we can get them a link. We still see maybe 1 or 2% of the time we're not getting any contact information at all. Well, that visit is not going to happen. So we want to make sure that we get that. Maybe making sure that they have a good device. Recommend they be in a quiet location. Let them know there's going to be a couple consents if it's their first visit. How are they going to connect to the visit, right? You get a link, put in your date of birth. And then maybe you want to give them tips to have a successful visit, right? You want to have a strong connection, close other programs running. A headset might work better. Probably want to have the device plugged in just in case. There could be a short wait time. I think any of those things could be important to just set expectations, be proactive. I don't think it's a whole lot different than if you were going to get a procedure done, right? If you were going to show up and get a procedure done, you might get a packet of information or sort of a checklist of different things to say, don't eat, do this, don't do this, right? I think, this could be the same sort of thought process could be used for telemedicine when that patient is first booking the appointment, so we can set expectations and really set them up to have a successful visit, which is what, at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants.
So like I said, telehealth has been around for a long time. And, for most, it's not a new thing in concept, but it's new in terms of the applications that it has in practice today. So my question to you is, what does a healthcare provider need to know to be able to establish a great and compliant telemedicine offering in their practice today?
The provider side is the most important side, which is why we're sort of putting it into this format and putting this information out there on it, because I think it's easy to just think about, oh, well, they have a device, they have a camera, it should be good to go, right? But we've got folks working remotely now. Remote work is very popular. So now, folks may not be in your physical location on your network that's controlled, that's optimized, what have you. They may be at home where maybe the equipment hasn't been, it's 3 years old, 4 or 5 years old, hasn't been restarted, and is not, working as well as it could be. So I think these are all things we want to think about and account for when setting up a telemedicine program, because again, if the provider's connection has trouble, that could impact every single visit, right? So for the most part, there shouldn't be much configuration. There shouldn't be a lot of issues. But, if you've got hundreds of providers and, there's a handful of them with issues, that's a lot of patients that, aren't going to be satisfied. A lot of providers won't be satisfied. So I think really running through, making sure that providers have everything that they need. We do have a provider success team that will go through provider by provider, check all their equipment, check their connection, make sure everything is good to go, so that they can have successful visits. I think also, what do the providers know what to do when there is a problem, right? What if the computer, you're logged out of your computer for the day, you can't get in, you have some issue? Do they know what to do? Is there a backup device? Is there a backup plan, a plan B? Providers are usually going from one visit to the next. They're not sitting waiting around, right? So if something were to go wrong, they need something immediate that they can go to, right? So we have, tech support that's available within seconds, but making sure maybe that they have a backup device as well if they're doing a lot of telemedicine visits. So just sort of keeping that in mind, like the provider's physical space is almost like, and their equipment and their setup, that's almost like, if somebody's showing up to, there's a problem and somebody showed up to a physical location, the door is locked and we can't get the door open, right? If you can't get anybody in the building, you can't help anybody, right? So I think it's really important to, make sure that every provider has optimal equipment, connectivity, and knows what to do if something were to go wrong.
I appreciate you sharing all that, because, we started this business in 2014, and we've been very fortunate that we've learned a lot over time, as a software vendor, supplying these services to our customers. But can you talk about what we're doing at MEND to help educate other healthcare providers about the resources that are available to them and how to build a good practice? I know we have a new ebook that we're just releasing, and I know we have new webinars that are coming out. We have a series of webinars. So Matt, can you talk a little bit about what we're doing to help educate?
So we have 19 different learnings, I think different key areas, whether we're talking about operations, whether we're talking about in the visit itself. We've got 19 key learnings that we want to share with everybody. So we have a live webinar on February the 23rd at 1 p.m. And then we have an ebook as well, covering all 19 topics. It'll be available for anybody to download. If you just go to mend.com, right here at the top, you can register for the webinar. And then if you click on resources, we've got lots of great blog articles, the ebooks, the webinars, and more content that's available. So mend.com, everything is right up here at the top if you want to register for that webinar or dive into the resources that we have available.
Now my heart's beating, because now things start getting a little interesting for me. So I understand next up is a contest.
Yeah, so I think, wanted to have a little bit of fun on each episode, and I think the first contest will be interesting because anybody that's watching can also participate in it. So let's see, let me get it pulled up. So I found this photo actually went viral because there's some controversy over the right answer. And so I found it in the New York Times, and it was published in some other places. So I will put the photo up. You take about 20 30 seconds or so, and you let me know when you're confident you have the answer.
Done. Let's see if I embarrass myself.
You ready? You sure you're ready?
I'm sweating, so yes, I'm very ready.
All right, here you go. Clock is started.
Oh, geez.
So you've got to count the number of horses in the photo.
Okay. 1. I see 5 horses. I see 5 horse heads. So I'm assuming that's 5 horses. Final answer.
Final answer, 5 horses.
5 horses.
Now, apparently these are like, shape-shifting horses or something that just blend right in with their natural surroundings. So I'm not sure what kind of species that is, but well, supposedly the correct answer is 7. But I don't necessarily disagree with you that there's 5, because you can definitely see there's 1 head here, 2, 3, 4, 5. And
Yes.
then I was even counting legs. Right? There's a set of legs there. 2, 3, 4, 5. So, might be right brain, left brain type of trick. Supposedly there's 7, but if somebody can see 7, definitely point them out in the comments.
Oh, that was awesome.
And help us out.
We always want to try to make sure that we're leaving the audience with some helpful tips. So, Matt, I know you and I have talked. We're very interested in health for ourselves. So, why don't you talk a little bit about the health tip that you're bringing to the table today?
Have you ever noticed that? Let's say you're learning something new. You're learning, a new movement in the gym or a new sport or something like that. And I don't know if you've ever kind of experienced this, or maybe you were working on a problem or whatever, and you just can't. It feels awkward, or like you're just not able to quite get to the solution that you're looking at. You take a break, you approach it fresh the next day, and then have you ever noticed that something has gotten easier?
No question. Yeah, happens to me. I feel like every day.
This one is from the Sleep Diplomat. He was on the Joe Rogan show. It's a you have to go back into the archives for this one, but it was an interesting one, just on all the different intricacies of sleep and what's going on there. So I listened to his book too, because there's just some fascinating information that I never knew about sleep. So apparently, when you're in REM sleep, deep sleep, and your brain is starting to process and do things, apparently it will sort of fill in the gaps and sort of smooth out these, maybe a new movement that you're learning, right? And it just feels really awkward the first day, and then the next day it just everything kind of clicks. So your brain will kind of go through all of that and just kind of smooth it all out for you, or fill in any little bits and pieces. So I thought that was obviously, sleep is an important thing. We'll probably talk about it again in this segment, but there's lots of cool stuff if you want to check out the Sleep Diplomat. Lots of cool things.
So the key there is, if there's a problem I'm trying to solve or something like that, and I'm having a hard time, I should remember, when in doubt, sleep it out.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, hey, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a really cool experience. Obviously, you're my partner, but for us, it's important to give back and try to help as many people understand the current digital health environment the best they can. And we really want to be there to be a resource for them. So we created this format to do that. So for all of you listening, we're going to provide links to everything that was discussed in the show notes today. Please feel free to hit us up with any questions or comments that you have. We want to constantly get better at this. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about tactics and hacks to see more patients via telehealth. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. We'd greatly appreciate it. And we want to sincerely thank all of you for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for watching today's episode from the Getting Down with Digital Health podcast. To learn more about Mend or to access more content, please visit mend.com.